All right, guys, we got to talk about one of, if not the most saddest and most tragic stories in sports media today. And it's probably a story you've yet to hear about. And I only know about the story because Louisiana-based rapper D1, who I follow on Instagram, posted a video because he had this tragic news to share out of Louisiana.
My prayer to God for everyone reading this heartbreaking news is that you'll know that His love for you is stronger than any weight, any pressure, and any problem that you have in this world. This young brother, Kyren Lacy, they say took his own life last night, and he was about to literally be a top round pick in the NFL draft. He went to my college, LSU. Check on your strong friends. Check on your successful friends, because along with that success on stage, on the field, on the microphone, comes an equal amount of pressure off the microphone or off the field or off the court. And we just need to keep people in prayer even when they don't know we praying for them. You know, we all know people who it's like, they ain't telling me that nothing is wrong, but just looking at their life, I know that they got a lot going on. And we can't be afraid to pray for those people and to check on those people, man. This is so heartbreaking. I'm sending love to his close friends and family.
And I, like most of you, when watching a video like that, wonder why would a person that spends their entire life working to get and become a professional athlete, you were almost there, you almost got to the finish line, and decide that it's not even worth it and just decide to just end it all. Despite the fact that a lot of people are claiming that they don't believe that he ended it all and they think the police did it, but we'll get to that. What would make a person do that? And then I looked into his story and I quickly better understood what would make a person do this. Before we get into the story, I just ask, please hit that like button, hit the notification bell. If you don't do anything else, please hit the like button, guys. It really, really helps the video. And if you do not hit the like button, it does not promote my video. Therefore, more people like yourself will not be able to see the video. Thank you so much. Now, just a little bit of research into this guy's story, I quickly realized there was a lot more stuff going on than what would originally meet the eye. If you go to this article here, it turns out that Kyren Lacy was actually jailed just a few months ago on charges stemming from a fatal car crash. It says here, former LSU wide receiver Kyren Lacy, accused of causing a crash that unalived a 78-year-old man on December 17th and then fleeing the scene without rendering aid or calling authorities, turned himself in to authorities Sunday night, was jailed and then released on a $151,000 bail, according to police records. Louisiana Parish Sheriff's Office records indicate that Lacy was charged with negligent homicide, felony hit and run with death and reckless operation of a vehicle. A warrant had been issued for Lacy's arrest, and police on Friday said they had been in contact with Lacy and his attorney to turn himself in. According to a news release from Louisiana State Police on Friday, Lacy was allegedly driving a 2023 Dodge Charger on Louisiana Highway 20 and recklessly passed multiple vehicles at a high rate of speed by crossing the center line and entering the northbound lane while in a designated no passing zone. As Lacy was illegally passing the other vehicles, the driver of a northbound pickup truck abruptly braked and swerved to the right to avoid a head-on collision with the approaching Dodge, a Louisiana State Police news release said. Traveling behind the pickup was a 2017 Kia Cadenza, whose driver swerved left to avoid the oncoming Dodge Charger. As the Kia Cadenza took evasive action to avoid impact with the Dodge, it crossed the center line and collided head-on with a southbound 2017 Kia Sorento. Police alleged that Lacy, 24, drove around the crash scene and fled without stopping to render aid, call emergency services, or report his involvement in the crash. Herman Hall of Thibodaux, Louisiana, who was a passenger in the Kia Sorento, later passed away from his injuries suffered in the crash, according to state police. Hall was 78. The drivers of the Cadenza and Sorento also sustained moderate injuries, according to police. Lacy's agent, Rocky, said in a statement that his client is fully cooperating with authorities. Lacy played 2 seasons at Louisiana before transferring to LSU in 2022. This past season, he had 58 catches for 866 yards with 9 touchdowns and declared for the NFL draft on December 19, 2 days after the crash. And then this article here says, just a few days ago, man, NFL draft prospect, former LSU wide receiver Kyren Lacy, dead at 24. Former LSU receiver Kyren Lacy has died at age 24 in an apparent suicide in his car while being pursued by authorities in Houston, according to a Harris County Sheriff's report released Sunday. Lacy already was facing criminal charges stemming from a fatal car accident in Louisiana last December that had clouded his NFL prospects. Harris County authorities say their pursuit of Lacy late Saturday night ended when Lacy crashed. When officers approached the vehicle to extract Lacy, they say he had passed away in an apparent suicide, the report said. Man, this is one of the saddest stories. I don't, first and foremost, man, I send condolences to the 78-year-old man who lost his life, who apparently they're saying is a Marine. I believe he was in the military. I want to say first and foremost condolences to him. Obviously, this gentleman, Kyren Lacy's attorney, is defending him and says that he was innocent, says that there were a lot of red flags around the situation, said that Kyren Lacy was not the person that caused the crash. And even after the news came out that Kyren Lacy had unalived himself, his lawyer, his attorney decided to do an interview where he made some very interesting statements.
I will not stop until what I know is divulged and what is told and that story is done. I firmly believe today, and I'll never take this back, if it was you or I or anybody else, the investigating agency would never have brought charges against us. There's another human in this case that is a defendant in the civil lawsuit. She's not charged with crime. I'm of the very, very, very strong opinion, if we're coming to a proportionment of fault here, it wouldn't even be close. I stand by what I'm saying, and I'm not backing off. I will never back off of that. Not for him, not for anybody. It's never going to happen again to somebody else. Not this way. Yeah. Too many things you find out after the fact that go, that's interesting. That was ignored, or that's what your expert says. Well, how about what this investigation says? You know, you watched an accident. Let's be very clear. You were so close. You didn't get in a collision with the vehicles in front of him. Mr. Herman was in front of him, his vehicle, at the time that this happened. He watched the accident happen.
I'm not saying that the answer is ever to take your own life. That is never the answer. That is never the answer, man. Especially as a Christian, especially as somebody who believes in God. That is never the answer. But it does provide more context, because I can only imagine how it was eating this young man up alive. I guarantee you it was eating him alive, knowing that he had or potentially could have caused the ending of another innocent human being's life. And to know that the NFL Combine or the prospects had dropped their interest in him because it was just too much controversy surrounding him. Here you have a kid, 24 years old, has been working his young life, majority of his young life, to reach this point where he can make it to the NFL. And he gets right before the finish line, and allegedly he makes this mistake that changes everything. And just like that, before you know it, poof, it's gone. He doesn't even have the opportunity to make it to the NFL anymore, to change his life, to change his family's life. And then I saw reports and videos out there of him potentially being involved in a domestic violence situation. I can't confirm if this video is actually him or not, but they're saying this is him and his girlfriend. There was a lot of controversy surrounding them, but when you look at, I believe this is him at one of the combines, I believe just days before the incident happened where he allegedly took his own life. You can see that he's a top athlete, man. There's no question about it. I'm really just at a loss for words, because I've been in similar situations before in my life. I went to Dallas. I shared this story before. I went to Dallas with a friend a few years ago and love him to death. But I made the decision I would never put myself in that situation again, because speeding for me is doing 85 and a 70, right? It's still speeding. You shouldn't speed. Don't speed. But this particular friend, man, was doing 130. You heard me correctly. It actually got up as high as 140. And we were in a 70. I was terrified for my life. And I forget how fast they said he was going. I've seen different reports, but they're saying he was going well over in the hundreds. If he was going that fast, allegedly, that's going that fast, I just don't see the point. I understand it's fun to drive your car fast, especially when you're in certain vehicles, but going that fast is just dangerous. Not just for yourself, but the people that's around you. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got when I was in high school was, remember, whenever you're driving, you're not just driving for yourself, you're driving for the people that's around you. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And my uncle told me, he said, because you never know what they're going to do. You can't just assume that they're going to make that left turn. You can't just assume that they're going to just keep straight. You got to wait and see. You got to always assume the best. I mean, it's just a sad story all the way around, man. I send my condolences to Kyren Lacy's family. I'm sure they're going through it. But there are people out there that's alleging that they don't believe that Kyren Lacy took his own life. They're saying that they believe that the cops have a little bit more to do with it than they're willing to admit. Similar to the young scooter situation that just happened, I believe, like 2 weeks ago out of Atlanta. He was being pursued by the police on foot, and allegedly he suffered a leg injury while jumping a fence or something. And they're saying he later passed away from those injuries, which is very, I don't want to say unlikely, but it's just very unusual to pass away from just a leg injury, a random leg injury, right? But that's what their legend happened. Young Thug went as far to say that he has reason to believe that the police was responsible. But you got to be fair. There's no evidence that suggests the fact that the police had anything to do with Kyren Lacy's passing, you know? And I'm sure the body cam footage is going to be released at some point. Once again, I send my condolences to everybody involved. Y'all drive responsible. That's something I've had to remind myself of in the last year alone. Drive responsible, be responsible. Think about those around you. Don't drink and drive. Don't speed, man. Please. All it takes is one mistake and your life is over. The life as you know it is over, or it could literally be over, you know, or it could be over for somebody else. You don't want that on your conscience. You don't want that on your mind. You don't want that on your background, on your record, you know. One mistake, one decision could change the whole trajectory of your life. Pray for everybody mentioned in this video. Pray for me. I appreciate you all for watching this far. Hit the like button. Thank you all for supporting. I'm Demetrius. I go by Didi. That's all for this, man. Until next time. Peace.
Oh, yeah. Didi got a podcast.